Mr. Booze, Mr. Booze, Mr. Booze, Mr. B-double-O-Z. That sure spells booze. You will wind up wearing tattered shoes if you mess with Mr. Booze. Don't mess with Mr. Booze. Don't mess with Mr. Booze. Don't mess with B-double-O-Z. If you've been so stiff they thought you died, you'll feel better once you testify.
Testify.
Oh, yeah.
Testify.
Oh, yeah.
Testify.
I want to testify. I want to testify.
Well, then cleanse yourself, my child, cleanse yourself. Brothers and sisters, I happen to know this poor unfortunate soul and the fight she's waging against sin. That old devil Hooch has turned her into the unsightly person you see before you. Give us your testimony, my child.
Well, it all began with Daddy.
Alcohol makes a big man small and can lead to a life of crime.
Yeah, demon rum makes a gin a bum and you cash in before your time. Yeah, bootleg gin puts you in a spin till you don't even know your name.
Yeah.
You're a public disgrace, flat on your face, and there's only one guy to blame.
Oh, Mr. Booze, Mr. Booze, Mr. B-double-O-Z, don't ever choose.
Alcohol, the nectar juice, sauce, hooch, vino, liquid courage. This dastardly drink has the power for a man to talk to a girl on one end and to take down empires on the other. Alcohol has generally been a staple of society, found just about anywhere you go. Some people cherish it, while others denounce it as a sin. Myself, I'm an alcoholic. Not long ago, it was outlawed in the great United States of America. Today, I want to talk to you about the rise and fall of the Prohibition era. But more importantly, the people and the stories behind it, here on Speakeasy. Prohibition. The sale and consumption of alcohol were no more. Where do we start to look though? Where does this all begin? Well, we'll have to look to our neighbors to the north first, the Great White North, aptly named for the cold winters and the various amounts of snow, not to be confused with all the white people that live there. Starting in the 1900s, following a temperance movement brought on by various religious sects, provinces, one after another, would go dry. We wanted to talk to a Canadian resident to see his and his town's feeling on the nature of the ban. Thank you for joining us, Mr. Tremblay.
Thanks for having me.
And for one time, just to certify your nationality, can you say the word about?
Excuse me.
Just say the word about.
A boot.
Excellent, so we can get started. So you're from Halifax in Nova Scotia. Let me ask you, do you and your neighbors feel the same sentiment as the laws passed?
I personally was all for Prohibition. I'm Methodist, which is part of many of the denominations of Christianity that pushed for a referendum.
So how about the people around you? Does everybody follow your no fun having lifestyle?
No, actually, it's pretty split within the communities, like right down the middle. Except Quebec, of course, the nutcase drunks. So for them, it's more 80%.
Interesting. Do you feel Prohibition has helped your communities? Has it made them any better?
Honestly, it doesn't even feel like it's completely gone. The government doesn't really uphold the laws and allows for a lot of production in wineries and distilleries. I've gone as far as making my own reports.
So I could go as far as calling you a snitch.
What?
Last question. I wanted to ask you how you feel about the United States following in Canada's footsteps before Canada started to roll back some of their bans.
I believe it just goes to show that the United States likes to copy everything its big brother does first.
It is at this point we discovered that Felix Tremblay was indeed on drugs and was quickly escorted off the premises.
A few inches later.
Canadians drank heavily during the 19th century. Men primarily, but women and the youth too. The Canadian census of 1851 denoted that 2,000 taverns, or about one for every 500 people, Drunkenness, fighting, domestic abuse, and household impoverishment were rampant. So, Canada had their own fun with Prohibition, and like all good things that come out of Canada, the Americans were going to copy it and pass it off as their own, because that's who we are. And just as the Canadians were cleaning up their act, the Americans showed the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. And by apple, I mean Prohibition. And by far, I mean distance by miles. Maine. Prohibition started in Maine. In 1846, Maine passed the first laws in the country outlawing the sale of alcoholic beverages, except for industrial and medicinal purposes. We have a reenactment of what that was like. Is that alcohol, son?
Yes, it is. I'm affirmative officer.
Oh, really? I'd like to see that. Alright, you're good. You have fun drinking and driving. Yet they instantly regretted it, repealing the act and instead just adding tighter laws around certain wines and liquors not 20 years later. Now, in 1905, a Liquor Enforcement Commission was established, though abolished in 1911. In that year, the Democratic-controlled legislature passed a proposed constitutional amendment to abrogate the 26th Amendment of 1883 relating to the manufacturing and sale of intoxicating liquor. It was defeated by a narrow margin of 60,095 votes to 60,853 votes. So, close to a 50% split. It's like modern day America, with the divisions this country has, whether you're blue or you're red or you're what.
No, you're not doing this.
Don't make this a political thing.
All that I was saying was...
No, you weren't saying nothing.
No. This isn't some globalist company just trying to pander to teens to get them to buy garbage.
I don't see how that's relevant.
That's not who we are.
I think a company like Disney does good things when they try to help in pushing the narrative.
Walt Disney's political party would surprise you.
Now, it was a close decision, and a split state like that could fall under the same issues the Canadians did. They could possibly restrict the rules altogether. In fact, they did just that, with a little help from a friendly ally. Canada had the birth of the rum runners and ships of rum rum. Men of the first daring escapades knew of the riches they could atoll. They saw little of Maine coming down with a case of dryness and fully wanted to help its cry. We talked to a man who was set on stopping the original criminals, Hal Higgins. Hal, thank you for joining us.
Hey, no problem, Dave.
Now you caught the bad guys, right?
In simple terms, yes. That's what I did. I focused on the rum runners coming into Maine.
Now, were you liked by your peers?
Not everybody was enjoying my position. Some of my neighbors' wives did resent me.
Now, why is that?
Because I was arresting their husbands for drinking hooch.
Oh, well, yeah, if my neighbor arrested me, I would have thought you were a prick.
I get paid to get these guys, and they didn't take too kindly. They wanted to hunt me down. The local churches were my only saving place. As they would say on Sunday Mass, God will bring horrible things to man doing God's work. People taking advantage of the new waves of crime almost make me sick.
So, do you believe this is where the creation of organized crime began in the States?
This time definitely exponentially increased the amount of it.
You like canasta?
What?
Such a division of community, separation of faith, and the rise of organized crime. Kind of seems like alcohol really kept the world stable, and we rely on a magic drink to love thy neighbor and tolerate everybody. Well, past that, what did this all lead to? The band kept moving south of Maine and would fill all states in the Union. The last area we find ourselves in the Northeast is Massachusetts, where one of the biggest characters ruled over everything evil. Massachusetts fell in line when the amendment was passed, but imagine a city where everybody's accent sounds like they're slurred drunk and can't speak, and take away all their alcohol. At this point, even religion can't save you. The people of Mass were not pleased. They immediately fell in love with the criminal underworld, something Mark Wahlberg is probably going to write a bad movie script about. This lawbreaking was so common that the police took place in it, helping citizens get through the state with a small fee. The Boston Herald made a contest to see who could come up with the best word to describe a person who flagrantly ignored prohibition. The word, scofflaw, and the man who would fit that word most perfectly, Charles King Solomon. He owned speakeasies, including the Coconut Grove, and a fleet of rum runners that brought bootleg liquor from Central America. The king himself.
Thank you for having me, David.
You're cuter than I expected.
Thanks.
So Solomon, you controlled Massachusetts.
I did. I was at the top of the underworld, and with nobody trying to stop me, I could amass my riches.
You had a lot of ships. Big boat guy?
I had an armada of ships to just transport rum, because you had one of
You ever seen Captain Phillips? He had a boat.
Yeah, it was a good movie.
So your Christian family had no animosity supporting one of the devil's traps?
I am Jewish.
Ah, I see.
After I took over the state, I did a tiny bit of prison time, and then would go on to something bigger.
The National Crime Syndicate, created in Atlantic City.
Bingo.
All right, Mr. Solomon, it's been a pleasure having you on this day, January 24th, 1933. Hey, by happen chance, what are you doing tonight?
Oh, I'm going to the Cotton Club.
Okay. I hope you don't get killed by two gunmen who are lusting for your territory and plan on splitting it even. At this point, the country could not take it anymore. The public became disillusioned with the lawlessness, corruption, and scoffing of prohibition. Governments needed the revenue from taxing alcohol. In 1925, H.L. Mencken wrote, 5 years of prohibition have had at least this one benign effect. They have completely disposed of all their favorite arguments of the prohibitionists. None of the great boons and offstrokes that were to follow the passage of the 18th Amendment have come to pass. There is not less drunkenness in the Republic, but more. There is not less crime, but more. There is not less insanity, but more. The cost of government is not smaller, but vastly greater. Respect for law has not increased, but diminished. It took less than 8 months for the states to repeal the 18th Amendment. Starting in April of 1933, Rhode Island was the third state to ratify repeal on May 8, 1933, followed in New England by Mass, Connecticut, New Hampshire, and Vermont. It was over, and lesson learned, it was for the worse. The United States would stay recovering from the process till after World War II. To this day, organized crime is still riddled across America. Canadians still hate Americans for stealing their ideas, and the division in the states is increasing, tampering our patriotism. If you buy our America Love Each Other Again t-shirts...
No, we're not doing this. We're not doing this.
Come on!
You're not doing this right now. This documentary, terrible. We wouldn't even sell anything.
No, we got picked up by Netflix. A lot of people are gonna see this.
And what? Watch a cracked out host go off the rails without any context?
This information came from all credible sources.
Your stone friend Ryan? Not a credible source.
You want to play Canasta?
No.
Now, alcohol makes a big man small and can lead to a life of crime.
Demon rum makes a gin a bum and you cash in before your time.
Bootleg gin puts you in a spin till you don't even know your name. You're a basket case flat on your face and there's only one guy to blame. Mr. B, Mr. Booze, Mr. Booze, Mr. B-double-O-Z, he don't ever choose. You will wind up wearing tatted shoes if you mess with Mr. Booze.